This is LA's first.
Live from Los Angeles, welcome to the Dr. Erin Show. We're all about manifestation, transformation, and breakthroughs. It's time to claim your birthright of prosperity, vitality, and love. So grab your tea or coffee because together we're awakening the world. May you live your truth. Do you ever wonder why diets rarely work? Do you wonder why some people have more energy than others, or why some people come into this lifetime with chronic dis-ease? So if you're somebody who truly desires to break through and master your energy physically, spiritually, emotionally, you want to listen to this podcast. This is a series on trauma and how it affects your health and vitality. Welcome to the Dr. Erin podcast. We come together to know the truth, live on spiritual principle, and align with universal law. We truly believe that when somebody awakens, they have a gift and message to bring to the world, and together we're awakening the world. So let's do this thing. We are developing master, world-renowned spiritual leaders. That's truly how I hold you guys. I know that if you've had a spiritual calling and if you're committed to monetizing, it's important because monetization equals impact in the world. So in this series, we're breaking on down trauma because after working with thousands of clients around the world, I've come to really believe that the missing key to manifestation, to truly having a life that you love and being able to have prosperity, vitality, and all the above, is doing your inner trauma. Because in your subconscious mind, in your DNA, in all of it, is limited beliefs. And those limited beliefs basically are tagged on your DNA from emotional traumas. So what happens in trauma, again, is that you are such a powerful spiritual being that the moment that you make a positive or negative meaning on anything, you instantaneously have a positive or negative feeling, which equals emotion, because belief equals thought, thought equals feelings, feelings equal emotions, emotions equals the outpicturing and circumstances of your life, your perspective. So we're breaking down, if we want to truly have a life that we love, if we want to have relationships that are thriving, if we want to truly have health and vitality, if we want to have all these things we want, prosperity, abundance, all these things, we have to remember the truth of who we are, which is spiritual beings. You are not your beliefs, you are not your body, and you're not the circumstances of your life. You are the creator of them. We truly believe in oneness and that collectively we are divine, we are God, we are all that we're here to create our consciousness and form in a 3D realm. We're here to experience the depths of our soul and form. And we're not just individuals. We are individuals, we are the collective, and we are the cosmic. We are one with everything. And so if we want to master our lives, if we want to really transform our lives, we have to transform our trauma. So today in the series, we're going to be talking about health and vitality. And first of all, we have to break on down the myths of what it means, health and vitality. We have in our culture programmed ourselves to believe that if you have a dis-ease, something's wrong with you. If you have, anything going on other than quote, quote, what the magazines show us that something's wrong with you or something needs to be fixed. We do not look at that from a new thought perspective. We know perfect health because it's perfect outpicturing of what's going on in consciousness. We do not look at even cancer as being something wrong. It is actually the culmination of what we've created from what we've chosen to create in our environment, what we've chosen to choose of what we've eaten, what we've chose to have emotionally, what we've chose to have our genetic imprinting turned on and turned off, right? So today we want to break on down, what does it mean? How do we transform our health and vitality through transforming our trauma? I'm going to bring some case studies in and break it on down, okay? So first of all, I just want to say that personally, I had a rollover car accident when my son was a year old, after I'd had my full-term stillborn son and then getting pregnant a month later. And my son, who now is 25, was 1 year old. And we were on a trip to southern Utah. And we were driving home in a truck and trailer going 60 miles per hour. And we flipped the truck and trailer. And luckily, no one got killed. And I was the only one got really hurt. I herniated a disc in my back and was laid up for 2 weeks at a time where I could barely move. And through doing the inner trauma work, I was able to completely heal my back and have zero pain whatsoever. And the point is that anything and everything's possible. We want to acknowledge that none of this is a cure. Legally, we cannot say that. And legally, we can also know that we create miracles through this work. Doctors of divinity are doctors because we heal through revealing the truth. Spiritual practitioners are practitioners because we heal through knowing the truth. Okay. So, the metaphysics of health, we have to really truly break this down before we understand what's happening in trauma. There is only perfect health because remember, you are not your body, you have a body. From a spiritual perspective, the only true disease is amnesia. Okay. Meaning that if we truly believe and know who we are, we wouldn't even identify with the body, but we also probably want to experience some vitality in the body. So we want to break it on down. So there is only perfect health because the mental equivalent and direct reflection of consciousness, individual consciousness, collective consciousness, and cosmic consciousness, right? So we have to understand no matter what's going on, whether you're, dealing with diabetes, whether you're dealing with low energy, whether you are getting on the roller coaster of diets up and down, right? We have to know that everything begins in mind. Everything begins in mind. When we get out of alignment with Mother Nature and universal laws, we experience ill health. That's bottom line. And within you is born intelligence and an innate healer capable of restoring harmony, well-being, and vibrant vitality. And from a spiritual perspective, dis-ease is spirit, your higher self, communicating that individually and collectively we are out of harmony with life. Symptoms within the body, such as poor health and illness, are the relative and inverted experience of our use of energy and the divine sign to wake up. We know that the body keeps score, right? You can't lie about what's going on from an energy perspective in the body. The body is going to give you feedback because the body is one with the soul. The body is that culmination of the most amazing computer program ever that's going to give you feedback, right? You are an immortal and eternal being, free from all dis-ease. This is the truth. And according to Hippocrates, I can't say his name, but according to Hippocrates, illness does not come up upon us out of the blue, okay? Our sins, which we call it, right, are not necessarily what the church has told us, right? It's not that you're a bad person. Sins are what we call missing the mark, okay? Our illness, our signs, our dis-ease are developed out of daily small sins against nature, against our true harmony, if you will. When enough sins have been accumulated, illness will suddenly appear. Also, we don't get illness overnight. We get it's a very slow gradient usually. We know the body gives us feedback. All of a sudden it's like, I'm not feeling so good because I keep eating like crap every day. And then, it starts to get a little bit worse. And it's like, oh, I have low energy. My blood sugars are off. Oh my gosh. Now I'm having, diabetic or low sugar episodes, right? And now, it goes on and it's a compounding factor, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Some people will, yeah, you could be born with something and yes, but you are your ancestors, you are your lineage. So it didn't just happen in this lifetime. It's happened over a culmination of lineage, of doing sins against nature, doing sins against harmony, and not aligning with our true divine divinity. The body has a built-in system that sends off alarms when you're creating health or when you're creating illness, right? When you're out there, you're moving your body, you're eating well, you feel good. It's like that's the divine side, and that's the biofeedback. That's the divine feedback of telling you when you are alignment. And when you are out of alignment, that's the divine sign to say, man, I feel like crap. I don't feel good, right? I'm grumpy. I'm all these things. It's the divine feedback. Most illness is caused it's really it's the side effect of stressful lifestyles and toxic environments that we've created. So dis-ease, the effect of creating a life of unease. So the truth is that I believe something like 90% of all doctor visits are stress related. So we have to understand what's happening here, what's happening from a trauma related issues. Okay. So we have to know that trauma, again, as you know, trauma happens, not just like from a war zone or a car accident. Emotional trauma happens the moment that that you're in, something happens, something either happens or doesn't happen, right? Your boyfriend breaks up with you, or, your parents get a divorce, or you get that phone call that you didn't want, or whatever it is, something happens or does not happen out in the world. You assign a negative meaning to it, because remember, if you assign a positive or negative meaning to anything, you instantaneously have a positive or negative emotion that happens, right? Feeling and emotion. So if something does not happen, a traumatic incident happens, something terrible happens, kids look at you and bully you on the jungle gym or whatever it may be, you have a negative meaning that you attach to it, with a high state of an emotional state that occurs out of that, backed by a limited belief. Okay, so it happens as a command, which called an engram, that impinges upon the neurological system. And the command is like, I'm not enough. I'll never trust again. I can't do this. I don't want to live, whatever it may be. Okay, something's wrong with me, whatever it is. That command goes into the subconscious mind and begins to outpicture. Okay, so how does this outpicture into your health, right? So, case study, I had a client, and just to, keep my clients anonymous, her name was Angie. And she was in a relationship. She got engaged with somebody who was emotionally unstable, if you will. So she began to realize that he was not emotionally stable. She realized that she probably didn't want to marry this man. And she began to try and break up with him. And her fiance began to freak out and get really clingy, began to get really dysfunctional, very codependent, and began to have anger episodes. And finally, one day, a traumatic incident happened where he actually held her somewhat at hostage at knife point for part of a day. And in this rage and in this, episode, it was obviously a traumatic incident for her. And she, in the high state of emotion, decided men equal danger. She had a command that said, I will never get close to a man ever again. I will never get close to a man ever again. And so what happened in Angie's life is she began to gain a lot of weight in the self-fulfilling prophecy of, I will never get close to a man again. And it played out in her life. She tried every diet under the sun. She did everything she could. She went and got her hormones checked. She did all those traditional things. But it wasn't until she did her inner trauma and began to, first of all, realize that command had created the outpicture in her life. And number two, she neutralized that command. And every time she was able to hear that command come up, I will never get close to a man again. Because once you do your trauma work, you hear your commands, you can hear them internally. She made a new declaration for herself. And she realized that she is love and that she can trust, because she trusts herself. And she trusts her higher self to always keep her safe. And so she began to lose weight naturally, not by dieting, but by loving herself enough to give herself healthy nutrients that fed her body and gave her the vitality that she knew she deserved to love her life. And so the point is that we don't know how health outpictures, how cancer now is related to emotions and all these things. And the truth is that the trauma is what impinges the divided perspective. And if we're divided in our perspective and who we are, then we become divided from Mother Earth. We become divided from the true birthright of vitality and truly experiencing beautiful energy through our choices every day, with the water that we put in the body, with the food that we put in our body, with our thoughts that we think, that no longer cause the stress, but rather cause rejuvenation and regeneration. Within the subconscious mind, there is the parasympathetic nervous system, there's two divisions. There's the autonomic nervous system along with the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. So it's like fight or flight and rest and rejuvenation, right? So the entire nervous system is sometimes considered part of the automated nervous system. It's like it is the subconscious. It just happens. Like you don't have to do anything, turn it on or turn it off. We can do things like resting, and the more we rest, the more we turn on aspects of it. But the autonomic nervous system functions to regulate the body's unconscious actions. Okay. So everything that happens spiritually also happens physically, right? So all these terms that science comes up with is really spiritual. It's all spiritual. Science is spiritual. Medical is spiritual. It's just that the systems out there have not realized that everything comes from spirit. Spirituality is reality. Everything comes from spirit, first cause, your highest self, right? So all these systems have been put in place of the relative universe of yin and yang, if you will. And so the automatic nervous system is exactly the same. There's parts of it that are fight or flight, and there's some that are in totally homeostasis, in harmony. It's the same thing. We're teaching the same thing. Universal law says that we get to create dis-ease or we get to create ease, right? We get to create vitality and health, or we get to create, just not feeling high energy and feeling like crap. It's the same energy. It's just how we use it. So we want to know that when we, as I say, feed and breed, or when we rest and digest, it's the same systems, right? That in the body, we have to know that it's a blessing. When something's dealing with dis-ease, it's a blessing because it's the biofeedback system of spirit telling us where we're out of alignment with our health. And so trauma is imperative. I've witnessed people growing back their hair. I've witnessed people completely turning off their, diabetes also. I mean, I can't say that, you know what I mean? Like I'll get in trouble, but I've witnessed miracles. Okay. Is it normal? Is it not normal? Well, we now recognize that, there's been spontaneous remissions. There's studies on spontaneous remissions, and the 9 remissions, Radical Remission Project, there's 9 factors. So the 9 factors of the Radical Remission Project are: number 1, changing your diet. Number 2, taking control of your health. Number 3, following your intuition. Number 4 is using herbs and supplements. Number 5 is releasing suppressed emotions. Hello, trauma work. Okay. 6 is increasing positive emotions. Number 7 is embracing social support. Number 8 is deepening your spiritual connection. Number 9 is having strong reasons for living. And so the point is that the Radical Remission was a project where they went out and they they interviewed people that had spontaneous remissions. And so we have to know that even number 1, changing your diet, it can't happen until somebody makes a decision. Until somebody transforms the trauma, they can't even have the willpower to be able to get in that harmony of changing their diet. Okay. So as a doctor of divinity, I truly believe with all my heart and all my wisdom that if you want to have a spontaneous remission, if you want to truly have a possible miracle in your health and vitality, doing your trauma work is the first and foremost thing. Forget the diets, forget all of that until you've done all of your work where you release and know the truth of who you are and unify in your heart and body and mind. I simply know this, as together we say, and so it is. And so on that note, you guys, if you're somebody who's had a spiritual calling and you're committed to monetizing so that you can make an impact in the world, truly discovering your purpose and calling and bringing truth to the world, you're welcome to reach out. I'm on social media, drerin.tv, DRERIN.tv. I would really appreciate it if you took the time to give a 5-star review of this podcast. It really means a lot. You can also, of course, come to the website, get some free, we have tons of free gifts. There's also on the website of newthoughtglobal.com. You can go up and there is freebies right up on top, and you can click in there, and there is a 12 series of money breakthrough there as well, and a bunch of other gifts for you. Okay. Please share this and like it with a friend. Okay. It's fun to do these together so we can all rise together. Have a beautiful day, and may you live your truth. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Erin podcast. If you've had a spiritual calling or desire to get certified as a spiritual coach or a world-renowned spiritual leader, go to newthoughtglobal.com. If you've received value from this show, I would love it if you share it with a friend and give it a 5-star review. Also, we have spiritual practitioners that are trained to deliver the E4 trauma method and assist you in birthing your truth. So let's be friends on social media. Again, my handle is drerin.tv across all social media. Have a beautiful day, and may you live your truth.